With hundreds of font choices, it's hard to know which is the best font to pick for your presentation. Well, in this video, I bring you 3 considerations so you can pick the best font that represents your personal brand and complements your message. Hi, I'm Anita. Welcome to Word Cortex. Every week, I bring you tips and tricks to communicate your ideas and stories with confidence. And sometimes a simple choice such as picking a font can influence your message. So with that, let's dive into our first consideration. The sole purpose of text on our slides is to capture the attention of our audience. And that's not going to happen if they're left squinting from the back seats. As a general guide, it's our goal to make sure the font that we pick is readable and legible. By legible, I mean that you can distinguish the letters of the font from far away. You're not left guessing, is that an I or an L? And by readable, what I mean is when these letters are strung into words and phrases, it's just easy to read with no extra effort. Now, in the 2 broad categories of font, we have the serif, the one with the little embellishments on the end, and the sans serif without the embellishments. The font category that's most likely to be readable and legible from afar is the sans serif one. You'll actually see this around you in movie posters and billboards. And in fact, the one place where they need to capture your attention from far away and have only a split second to do so also uses sans serif fonts. And I mean on highway traffic signs. No matter where you live in the world, if there are signs in English, there is a high chance that that sign is in sans serif, because back in 1940s, they developed this font as a style that is most readable and legible from afar. And it makes sense. Imagine driving at 70 miles an hour and having to squint to see the next exit. That would be a disaster. So when in doubt, just pick a font that is sans serif. In fact, the founder of TED, Chris Anderson, recommends the same, and let me read his words for you. He says, "We usually recommend medium weight sans serif fonts like Helvetica or Arial. But don't use excessively thin fonts as they're hard to read, especially on a dark background. If in doubt, keep it simple." Okay, just because a font is sans serif does not mean that it matches your message or your personal brand. I want to share with you a rather embarrassing example from the field of science. You guys remember back in 2012, they discovered the Higgs boson, or the God particle. Well, this path-breaking discovery in physics that was decades in making was announced using Comic Sans. I'm not even kidding. And of course, soon after the announcement, the world of social media was storming with messages about how the font did not do justice to the grandiose of the message. And in this case, it actually trivialized the message. So when picking a font for your presentation, you want to make sure and double check that this font represents your personal brand and your message. For this, I recommend that you create a couple of text boxes on PowerPoint and paste a phrase that actually appears on your presentation, and then compare across fonts. This actually works better than just scrolling through a menu of fonts, because in this way, you're actually looking at how the font feels and fits with your message instead of it being the other way around. So in this section, I want to address those people who love script and cursive and brush style fonts that are quite trendy on travel vlogs and on Instagram. While these fonts are actually pretty and beautiful to look at, when we use these fonts for our key takeaway message or to share something important on our slides, we actually risk complicating things for our audience. And let me explain. In one study, participants received instructions for an exercise routine. One group of participants received the instructions in a sans serif Arial font, and another group received the same instructions in a brush stroke font. It so happened that those who read the instructions in the brush font perceived the exercise as a little more difficult than the ones who received the instructions in the Arial font. This was the first evidence suggesting that font choice can influence not just how we feel, but also the outcome of our message. So if you are presenting an important finding or want to spur some action from your audience, I would stay away from the cursive and brush kind of fonts and just pick one that is neutral and simple. This way you remove any barrier between you and your audience so that your message is easily perceived and understood. At the end of the day, font is just a form of art. And yes, it can influence your message, but it's never really as important as your story. The way I look at fonts is inspired by the world of movie posters. By looking at the font in a movie poster, you kind of get a feeling for what the movie is about. But does that replace the joy of watching the movie? Absolutely not. However, the poster made you look. It captured your attention for just a little bit. And that's what I'm hinting at. By taking a couple of extra minutes to pick the right font for your message, you're already one step ahead in the game. So I hope you'll take a minute to pick the best font for your personal brand and for your message. And with that, I will see you next time.